Ooh, I got a good one for you today. If you're into electric skateboards and you've been looking for that holy grail of shortboards, this might be it. It's the ACEDECK Stella S1. Welcome to the Vapor Trail channel. I'm Tony, and a while back I received the Stella S1 from ACEDECK for review. Now I've already done the unboxing and first impressions video. As a matter of fact, you can check out the link that's down in the description or that's popping up right here. I'll also put a coupon code down there that'll help you save a little bit more money if you're buying this board or one of the other two boards that they've got. ACEDECK pretty much came on the scene this year, and in 1 year, they've put out 3 boards that are just really very good. One of the hallmarks of this company is that they do these custom CNC parts like trucks and things like that. And it's something you just weren't seeing on boards before this, especially, for production boards. Now, this board is not only gorgeous, I mean, the details on this thing are fantastic. It's a really good looking board, but it performs really well. Now, if you haven't seen the unboxing yet, you might want to watch that because this board has a lot of things that come with it. There are some actual real tools that come with it, which was a big bonus. But as for the review, let's get right into it. Let's start by talking about specs on this board. It is a short board. It is 35 inches long, and because it's a short board, it doesn't have the giant battery pack that you'll have in, a nice long board that has more room for all of that. And they've also kept the form of this board in a nice sleek form, so it may be somewhat limited on the ability to squeeze batteries in there, but it does have a 12S2P battery pack using Molicel P42 batteries. And this thing has power to spare. I have not taken it to the top of its speed. The fastest I've got on it was 27 miles per hour. And on a short board, for me, that feels pretty fast. And if you're looking for torque, you can put it in one of the higher gears and you're definitely going to get that torque. In fact, 190 kV of motor torque. Top speed on this is 31 miles per hour, fastest in its class. The range on this is 15 to 25 miles, and that depends on what wheels you have on there. It comes stock with the street wheels on there, which I did ride in the first video that I did, and then with the rubber wheels, which are my preference because they're so much more comfortable to ride. It does take a pretty big hit. It gets down to 15 miles on the range, but for a board like this, see, if I'm going to be doing a super long ride, I'm usually going to be on one of my nice, comfortable long boards. It's kind of like a magic carpet ride, A board like this rides much more like an actual skateboard. And for me, I see it more as a commuter board, something for shorter rides and that kind of thing. And it also lends itself really to an urban environment because you do have a kicktail on here and you can actually use that kicktail. My longer boards, sometimes in an urban environment, I've got to get off the board and pick it up to turn it, if I'm in a tight situation. But this board, no problem. Any tight spaces, you're going to be able to navigate that. This has an FOC ESC that's customized exclusively for ACEDECK with an intuitive acceleration and braking curve featuring a turbo mode for blistering fast acceleration. I did test that acceleration a little bit with this board, but I'm not a big speed demon and I don't need to, take off so fast that I'm going to be thrown off of a board. But it does have some amazing torque to it and acceleration. And of course, the braking on this is regenerative braking. Just a little tip for you if you're kind of new to the electric skateboard world. If you have a full battery and you're going to be going out for a ride, make sure that you're not going down a bunch of hills right off the bat, because every time you use your brakes, the system is regenerating power. And if your battery's already full, it can cause issues, ones that I've never had, but I've heard about it, that if your battery's too full, the board may malfunction, and you don't want that happening while you're braking going down a hill. The way this board is put together is just so neat and clean. The trucks on this thing are beautiful. They're Precision CNC trucks. They're 7-inch wide, and the board itself is made of premium T700 3K carbon fiber. But it doesn't look like all the other carbon fiber boards out there. This thing has got an auto finish. I call it like that because the finish on this thing looks like it's like, a high-end auto paint that's on there. And the color I would describe as like gunmetal gray. I mean, just looking at this thing, every little bit of this board is just fantastic. Man, look at that finish. Max load on this board is 220 pounds. I weigh about 195, maybe 192 on a good day, but yeah. If you've got a little bit more weight on you, no big deal, this board will handle it. Now, while the range is much different on the two sets of wheels, I mean, if you're using the street wheels, I don't love street wheels. On a regular skateboard, maybe, but I'm getting up to some pretty good speeds on these things, even at 10, 12 miles per hour. You hit a rock, you're gonna go flying. Now, the street wheels that they include are pretty soft, but I just prefer those rubber wheels. And they're exclusive to this board. In order to get those wheels from ACEDECK, you've gotta get this board. And it comes as an accessory, an extra set. But again, going from 25 miles range to 15 miles range, I've actually gotten a little bit more than 15 miles out of them, probably about 17, 18 miles, and still had a little bit of battery left. So I think that their numbers, I love to see that they're actually accurate with their numbers. But you have to remember they also use a lighter rider, probably around 165 to 175 pounds, and that's going to affect it as well. So if you're a heavier rider, you might get a little less. With both of these motors on there, that equals 3,000 watts of power, and that is almost as much, I think it might even be as much as the Meepo Hurricane. In a small board, that's a lot. And the motors are 5255. The trucks on this are RKP, which are reverse kingpin, and they're super stable, but they are also very carvable, and they come stock with 95A bushings, so it's a real nice balance. One thing I really like about this board is because some of my bigger boards, it can be a pain to carry these things around, and you're definitely not going to be taking them on a bus or a train or anything like that. For me, they're more like a cruising board, right? The big boards. This board is just under 20 pounds, and it's super lightweight. I mean, especially compared to some of the other stuff I've got. So just rolling up, picking up the board and carrying it like you would a regular skateboard feels perfectly normal, and it's super comfortable. Now this board is a belt drive board, so she can be pretty loud. It's a bit of a screamer. Check this out. Now this is going uphill and at about medium speed, and it's kind of loud, but I kind of like it, you know what I mean? So I really like this board, especially with those rubber wheels on there. It's just a really nice, comfortable ride. The curves on the board are a little bit aggressive, and it took me a little bit to get used to it. The folks at ACEDECK said, yeah, some people will like to put their feet straight, like forward, like that. I don't like to ride like that. I just don't feel as stable. I did try it out that way, and it does feel comfortable, but I'm not uncomfortable at all by locking my feet into those big, aggressive curves on there. It feels really good. I feel locked in, and then if I want to take my foot off and drop it back a little bit, I can actually lengthen my ride a little bit, put that foot right on that CNC kicktail, and it's a comfortable ride. So you may be asking, is that kicktail actually usable? It is usable, but every electric skateboard that I've tried with the kicktail on there, it's kind of the same thing. Will I use it? Yeah, I'll use it, especially if I'm in a tight situation. But none of these boards are light under your feet, and when you're trying to kick, it works at least as good as any other electric skateboard that I've used a kicktail on. It's just not the same thing as using a regular skateboard with a big dedicated kicktail. But that CNC kicktail looks badass, and it's usable for a couple of reasons. You can use it to use as a kicktail or to extend the length of the board. I've only got three little things. They're not exactly performance things that I'd say are areas that they could improve on. Definitely when it comes to the plug where you actually plug it in to charge it. That little rubber plug on there, it's not the best. And I've had it actually pop out on me while I was riding, and that might have been user error. Maybe I didn't get it all the way in there or whatever, but it seems to me like it could be a little bit nicer. Maybe a little screw-on cap or something like that. That would, for me, that would be a big improvement. The next for me would be the grip tape. It's just kind of it's not the most fantastic design, and really, if you have to service this board, there's really no way to do it unless you take off that grip tape. As far as, you know, maybe if you needed to tighten your trucks, you can always tighten them from the bottom there, but you always want to get two tools in there in order to really get them tightened properly. So if you ever needed to do that, grip tape's got to come off, or you're going to have to find where the holes are and cut holes, that kind of thing. Also, a lot of these electric skateboard companies being in China, they'll often send you a part to replace in your board if there's something wrong with your board, like the ESC or, you know, the battery management system, or even a battery. You've got to get into the board. Well, access to this board is on the top, and the grip tape completely covers everything. So if I needed to get into this board, grip tape's got to come off, or I've got to figure out a way to cut around where all the screws are. And last, that handle that's on there, it's just begging to be used, and I love to have a good handle on a board. The only thing is that when you use the handle, as soon as you pick up the board, the nose is going to hit the ground before it's actually high enough to drag the board or whatever. So I've found that, you know, I can drag it, but I just got to hold it down a little bit and pull it along, because I've already scuffed up the nose on mine. So maybe some kind of a nose guard on there would be a good addition. I don't know how else you could fix that. Just make it so that I'm not scraping up that beautiful finish that's on this board by picking it up and using a handle that's clearly there to use. I've seen a couple people put grip tape on that CNC tail part. I don't need it myself. I use a good Adidas skateboarding shoe, and it seems to stick on there really well, but if there was any kind of water or anything on that, it might get a little bit slippery. So you might take the time to cut out and put some grip tape all on that. That's up to you. But those are three minor things. Everything else on this thing, I mean, especially looking at the trucks, they're just so well made. Everything is machined perfectly. Even the kingpin itself looks like it's super solid. And the bushing cups, well, those are nice and CNC'd as well. Overall, this thing is kind of a sexy beast. It is strong. It's not a wimpy little skateboard, that is for sure. I highly recommend that you start out in the lower modes and move up from there. I do want to show you the remote for this board real quick. I filmed this segment while I was actually filming to do the first impressions. Because this thing has that custom FOC ESC, the remote itself has a lot of functions to it. For example, some boards you've got to completely repair the remote with the board in order to change it from kilometers to miles and that kind of thing. Not on this, it's really easy. And there's a lot of information available on the screen. So it's a familiar looking remote. We'll turn it on. And if you power the board on within the last 48 hours, it will actually power the board on as soon as you turn on the remote. If not, then you'll just have to push the button on the board to actually activate the board. Here you've got a battery meter with 5 on there, 5 bars. That is for the remote itself. There are 10 bars on the battery meter for the board. It's pretty accurate. I like that because it gives you a much better indication in the manual. It really breaks it down what it means. Got your speed right here. It is in miles per hour. It's in forward mode. It's in 2-wheel drive mode. If this board had 4-wheel drive capabilities, you could switch it into that. And then down here, you've got other information like your trip and your overall odometer. If we hit the power button, it actually cycles through the different things on here. And basically, you can see the temperature of the motors and all that kind of stuff on here. So it's chock filled with information. Then if you hit the function button 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you're going to be able to change your speed units from kilometers per hour to miles per hour and your brake level. Now, on this one, you don't have the option to switch from 2 to 4-wheel drive because the board does not have 4-wheel drive capabilities. As far as the different speed modes, you got low, you got economy, I think that's what that E stands for, and then Sport, and then Sport Plus. I pretty much stay in E is where I stay. And then we're going to hit this power button and turn it off, which also powers the board off. So the Stella S1 from ACEDECK is a great board, and I would recommend it for anybody that's looking for a nice commuter board, something that is going to look really nice too. It doesn't scream electric skateboard when you look at it, so it might pass off as a regular skateboard in some situations. And if you're not looking to do super long rides, you know, hey, I'm going to go 30 miles today or something like that, well, you should be just fine with the range on this with either the street wheels at 25 miles or the rubber wheels at 15 miles range. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 15 miles is a long time on a small board like this that rides more like a regular skateboard. You know, you're going to feel a little bit more of the road with this thing. All in all, I'd say ACEDECK has had a fantastic year with the Aries X1, the NYX Z1, and the Stella S1. 3 great boards. Fantastic job, guys. The other 2 boards I haven't tested, but I'm really looking at that NXY Z1 because come on, this thing looks amazing. And judging on what I've seen from this nice short board, I'd say the other ones are going to be fantastic as well. And one last thing, customer service is a hugely important thing when it comes to this. It's probably one of the biggest complaints that you'll see when you go onto the eScape forums and things like that. It takes too long, it's difficult to contact them, they're not helpful, all of those things I've seen on all these eScape forums. But ACEDECK has placed support in each one of the countries that they're working in as far as I can tell. And I know when I've seen some of these problems crop up on some of these eScape groups, they have taken care of them quickly, so that is nice. So the Stella S1 from ACEDECK, I would definitely recommend that you check it out. I want to thank you so much for your support here on the channel. I don't have a Patreon or anything like that, but on these videos, I do have a little thank you down there, a super thanks. You can click that and send a monetary donation to the channel if you want to help out. It is not inexpensive to run these things, from the cameras to the lights to everything. It does cost a lot of money to do this. But I'm very grateful for any support you give, including giving this video a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, there is a red subscribe button down there. You can hit that and the notification bell, get notifications when I upload new videos. I do have links down there for my social media, and again, I will put links down here for the unboxing and first impressions video, for the ACEDECK website, and a coupon code that will get you a little extra off on your board. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll catch you next time on the Vapor Trail channel.